Hey y'all, Matt Forrest. What have I done since graduation? That's a tough question. That's a long one. And I started as a financial advisor, actually. I know you guys think that's weird. I was a history major, but I started as that. 2019 came around. I started my own venture capital firm with one of my buddies that I met in the MBA program. So we focus on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Most of our businesses are owned by females and minorities. So we're trying to give them opportunities for funding that they otherwise wouldn't have.
Hi, everyone. My name's Brendan, and I graduated in 2011. After I finished Pepperdine, I got a teaching credential and taught elementary school for 4 years. Then I went to Harvard and got a master's in human development and psychology. I then went back and taught for a bit and then started a PhD program at Stanford that I'm currently in developmental and psychological sciences, kind of same world. And I study development of purpose and moral development. But then what takes up most of my time right now is I work at Pinterest as a UX researcher. So I'm doing both the industry and the academic stuff, which is fun to have those two worlds kind of interplay.
My name is Kaylee, class of 2015. While I was at Pepperdine, I loved having an emphasis in American history, and I liked Pepperdine so much that I decided to stay on and do my master's at the Strauss Institute. So I did a master's in dispute resolution and had a really fantastic experience. And that's kind of what led me into the HR space, which is what I'm doing today. So after finishing at Strauss, I did a rotational program in HR, got to work in Germany and in the UK and on the East Coast. So lots of fun travel adventures. And then currently I am working in the Bay Area. And while my role today is not necessarily in a history field, I definitely find that I'm using the skills day in and day out that I learned in my program. So super grateful for the history major and my time at Pepperdine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Claire McVeigh. I graduated with Kaylee, class of 2015. So I did City Year, which is an AmeriCorps program, right after I graduated in Los Angeles. And then I taught for a little bit in a charter school and realized as much as I liked teaching, I really just liked being in schools and working in smaller groups with students. So I decided to get my master's in social work. I did a post-MSW fellowship. So that was doing my clinical training through Yale University. So now I work at a public school in the area, just in regular middle school, and I am the school social worker.
Hi, everybody. I'm Christian Salvatore. I graduated in 2016. During Pepperdine, I had interned in commercial real estate, like during the summers, and kind of made connections there, and was encouraged to do graduate school for real estate investment at NYU as a commercial real estate appraiser for a few years. And then after that, I'm at a company I've been at like a year and a half now called Fitch Ratings, and work in commercial CMBS department, so commercial mortgage-backed securities. So it's commercial real estate, structured finance.
Hi guys, it's fun to be here. And when I was in the program too, everyone was always saying like history, whether you do something directly related to history or not, it's going to give you the skills to do whatever you want. And like I wasn't totally listening because I was like, I am going to do something directly related with history. In contact with a school in Kosovo. And so I was teaching in Kosovo in the Balkans for 2 years. And then also in that time, I was given a Fulbright grant to teach English in Malaysia for a year. And now I am going back to school for my doctorate in occupational therapy. I view it like it's not like I changed, but I view it like as an extension of what I was already doing.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeremiah. So I graduated in 2018, right after I worked in anti-child slavery, and I also jumped around grad schools, eventually got a dual degree from Tufts and Harvard. And then now I work in global diplomacy, specifically pandemic prevention, and then improving relations between the U.S. and Venezuela and the U.S. and China. And I use history every day for both of those.
Hi, I'm Kendall Ross. I graduated in 2021 And now I live in my hometown, Oklahoma City, and I work full-time as a fiber artist. So what I do is I hand knit one-of-a-kind art pieces and sell them directly to people, do shows in galleries, teach, but also make things for companies who need things knit. I feel like I use history all the time. I mean, I wrote my senior thesis about knitting.
I'm Jerry from class of 1. I was a history major here at Pepperdine University and also in the teacher education program. Last year, when I graduated, I was a teacher over at St. Paul High School. I taught world history there for 5 different classes. It was a lot of fun. I didn't have a classroom, so I was running around a lot, but it was nice. It was a good experience. Now I'm a little bit closer to home. I'm in Santa Clarita. I'm a substitute teacher, so I'm going around the district. I just finished a long-term substituting position where I was doing U.S. history.
I mean, I would say that the history major definitely gave me a lot of skills to be able to go into the field that I'm in, especially like analytical skills. Like I'm at an advantage in terms of writing skills. Like a lot of the work that I've done, you're writing reports and you have to present those reports to clients, investors, anybody. And it definitely gave me the confidence to be able to learn to pick new things up. So whatever field you want to go into, you'll have the confidence to know that you can learn kind of anything.
I think history is great with critical thinking and those historical thinking skills that are going to help you in whatever field you go into. I think it helps you make sense of the world and with what's going on in current events and seeing patterns and what the future outcomes might be because of that. And having a social science background is a huge asset to healthcare fields. And one thing specific to that a lot of programs value and look for is cultural competency. And so having a social science background, it puts you actually at a huge advantage because you're bringing in a different perspective to a healthcare field than someone who's come in with kinesiology or whatever, something like that, because it's a lot of those social skills that you gain from an understanding of people that helps you, I think. So having a history degree and demonstrated skills in cultural competency has really helped me in the application process for going into occupational therapy.
I think history helps with all the small things in life too, both professionally, but also personally. And I also think the answer isn't too much of a secret. It's kind of the benefit of history and how it helps you is kind of written in the first sentence of history ever, which is Herodotus. He writes history, the point of history is to preserve from decay what humans have been. And I'm going to add to it and say it's the story of what humans are. And it's not just in the big broad scope of things, but in the little things of trying to find connections between people. If you talk about the history of that area or the history of that people, that's a way to connect with people that's almost unsurpassed. I think also history really helps you with small scale research projects of being able to find information quickly, distill it, analyze it, and then use it very easily. It also helps trick people into thinking you're much smarter than you actually are.
I was just gonna echo Jeremiah's point about global connections. For me, having worked overseas and in my current role working globally, having an understanding of the history has been a great way to help break the ice and also to just show care for others and be able to connect and build bridges. And then I think the other thing that I wanted to add was just that in working in HR, you have a lot of situations where people have different perspectives on things and you get multiple sides to the same story. And I've found that having a comfort with gray areas from studying history has really helped in my current role because to do your research, to investigate, to really look into things from different perspectives.
It's really about making a point and finding evidence to support that point. I've done that my entire career. Even when I was doing financial advising, it's okay, I need to do this because of this. I need to help you grow your portfolio because of this.
I think one of the biggest things for me that I learned in history, like I don't write a lot, honestly, in my job. I don't research a lot. I barely do it all. But I think just the perspective of realizing situations and people are affected by so many nuances in their environment. They're like affected by the history of the place where they live, by the different systems that they interact with. My first social work position was in East St. Louis. Like you have to understand the race riots, the early 1900s to understand that city. You have to know about redlining. And I think being from a history background was really helpful.
One thing that I really think like sets people who like study history apart, people who like actively choose to be history majors, is specifically like how passionate like the usual history major is and how like intensive we like to treat our fields of research and what we really like to do.
I graduated in 2021, and when I graduated, I had offers to a couple grad schools. I had the option to go and finish my teaching credential. I think anything I would have chosen to do would have been great. Like I loved teaching, I loved history, and I think I would have enjoyed grad school. But I think that's the good part about giving yourself options, is that you can kind of see all of these potential lives or careers that you could have and say, what do I want to do? And then go with that. But I mean, it's hard to know. It's stressful. If I was in your shoes, I'd be stressed too. I'm sorry. And if you just do what feels right without worrying what other people are thinking or saying, or even what your professors think, it'll usually work out. Unless it doesn't.
I had a college sweetheart. I had someone to take care of. We both had each other to take care of. For me, it was jump into a job, right? Figure it out. That was the opportunity I had and I was given, and that's what I did.
I mean, I guess it has to do with like personal circumstances. In my case, I'd worked in real estate like during the summers, and I kind of knew that's what I wanted to go into. And the person that I worked with, kind of my mentor, like career mentor, he kind of advised me to do it. And I was also taking some like business classes as electives, like just kind of the basics, like for accounting and things like that.
I think that the history program and the history professors, and also same for education too, like are just so phenomenal, like incredible. And there are moments that I can like pinpoint that fundamentally like changed my thinking and how I view the world.
Dr. Zoller and Dr. Davenport really taught me something. It's about consistent reading, consistent good reading. Because although, you know, on top of school, you know, I'm trying to better myself personally. I'm trying to better myself professionally.
I definitely agree with Matt about just like the love of learning, like learning and reading, especially, and having the confidence that you can't really, like with the history degree, you can't really like just make something up. And so like being a history major, that definitely helped me probably the most. And kind of understanding that you kind of have to do it on your own too. It's not like no one's gonna hold your hand.
I came in as a business major to start off with. I hated accounting. I had Dr. Zoller's class, Humanities 212 or whatever it was, and it kind of changed my mind. You know, it was the best decision of my life, and that's all I have to say.
Well, I'm disappointed none of y'all mentioned, you know, the main reason to become a history major is I take you to the Magic Castle.
I never went to the
No.
Magic.
It's no longer here. Well, that's the.
I tell people about that all the time.
The Magic Castle is awesome.